You're watching Republic.
Hi there, good evening. Hope you had a great Sunday. And now it's time to look forward to the coming week. Welcome back to this week's edition of Looking Forward. This show, as you know, is about stories that are shaping up over the coming days and weeks, news that is developing and will have consequences for your life and mine, and impact our choices. Stories that shape India's and world's politics and economics going forward. So let's get going. Tonight's show packs a punch with 5 stories that you should look forward to. Tomorrow, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is all set to address a combined commanders conference of our armed forces in Kolkata. India's national security architecture is going to be reviewed during the exercise over the next 3 days. Post-Operation Sindoor, we already have a new doctrine, namely, any act of terror is an act of war against India and would be responded to as such. Expect Prime Minister to elaborate on this when he addresses the top officers of the 3 services. That's our story number 1. Story number 2 is on the Election Commission's announcement that they are actively looking at a national rollout of the special intensive revision of electoral rolls. Despite the Bihar upheaval on the issue, the EC believes it's the right way to go. This obviously has opposition in other states up in arms, like in Bihar. What's the rationale? How it is going to be received? We have a strong lineup of political voices in the package that follows. President Trump surprised everyone, or perhaps not, by toning down his anti-India rhetoric this week. Both India and the United States have picked up on the thaw, and trade talks are all set to resume in Washington, D.C. We shall give you a lowdown, and that's our story number 3. Next is a very interesting development down south in Kerala. A communist government is backing a mega religious congregation, even as the BJP has opposed it on the grounds that an anti-Hindu government can't do this. The Global Ayappa Sangamam on September 20, our story number 4, would take you through the twists, turns and ironies of this very interesting event that's happening in Kerala. And finally, story number 5 would do a bit of crystal ball gazing on Nepal, with Justice Minister Karki in saddle as the interim Prime Minister, as the Gen Z choice. What happens next? Would elections throw up old options? And then, how would the people respond? Let's start with the headlines of the moment. Five months after Operation Sindoor targeted and destroyed the Lashkar-e-Taiba headquarters in Muridke, Pakistan is in the process of rebuilding the terror dens. Reconstruction is being funded through the diversion of humanitarian aid. Hizbul Mujahideen busted in terror module busted in Punch. 3 terror sympathizers arrested along with 3 AK-47 rifles. Earlier today, the security personnel had recovered 4 rifles and warlike stores of the same module.
कांग्रेस पार्टी के अध्यक्ष ने कहा था कि मोदी नाचने गाने वालों को भारत रत्न दे रहा है। असम के बेटे का, भारत के सपूत का कांग्रेस ऐसे अपमान करती है।
PM Modi targets Congress for insulting Bhupen Hazarika. He also criticized the party leadership for questioning the centre's move to confer the Bharat Ratna on Assam's legendary singer Hazarika in January of 2019.
कांग्रेस देश विरोधियों की, घुसपैठियों की भी बहुत बड़ी रक्षक बन चुकी है। कांग्रेस जब सत्ता में थी तो घुसपैठ को बढ़ावा देती थी।
Prime Minister also takes on the Congress and opposition for aiding infiltrators threatening tribal communities and changing India's demography. PM vows to protect the Northeast and warns leaders shielding infiltrators of strict consequences. Enforcement Directorate has summoned Bollywood actress Urvashi Rautela for questioning in connection with its investigation into the online betting platform 1xBet. She is required to appear at the ED headquarters in Delhi on September 16. And Sushila Karki takes charge as the new interim head of Nepal Normalcy Limping Pack. Supreme Court of Nepal resumes functioning from makeshift tents. Welcome back, friends. Kolkata becomes the epicenter of India's strategic thinking starting tomorrow. The countdown has begun for the three-day Combined Commanders Conference where India's military and political leadership will script the blueprint for the next decade of national security. From Atmanirbhar Bharat and Make in India in defense to next-gen warfare and space cyber readiness, the agenda is packed with the reforms, transformation and technological dominance. The Prime Minister will set the tone, joined by the Raksha Mantri, the National Security Advisor, Chief of Defence Staff, the service chiefs and top planners for what could be India's biggest military reset since independence. Theatre commands, operational readiness and lessons from Operation Sindhu, all on the table as the forces look to stay future ready, battle ready and ahead of every adversary.
The countdown has begun for Calcutta becoming the nerve center of India's strategic thinking. From Atmanirbhar Bharat vision and Make in India military goals,
आज हम सिर्फ फाइटर प्लेन्स या मिसाइल सिस्टम नहीं बना रहे हैं, बल्कि हम न्यू एज वॉरफेयर टेक्नोलॉजी के लिए भी तैयार हो रहे हैं.
During Operation Sindhu, you all saw how our soldiers taught a lesson to those who sponsored terror. The whole nation was filled with a sense of pride about our armed forces. In this operation, Made in India weapons played a significant role in protecting our country.
from next-gen warfare to technological modernization.
You would also be aware that while the nature of warfare has remained the same over centuries, the character of warfare has changed rapidly and continues to do so. Firstly, the lines between war and peace are increasingly blurred.
For the next 3 days between September 15th and 17th, the Armed Forces will host the Combined Commanders Conference 2025. This year's theme is the year of reforms transforming for the future, signaling a decisive shift in military thinking. Prime Minister Modi will inaugurate the conference, setting the tone for the 3 days of intense deliberations. Defence Minister, National Security Advisor, CDS service chiefs and top planners will join him in shaping India's defence roadmap. What will emerge here could well define the Indian military for the next decade. Expect reforms, transformation and change to dominate the agenda. The Indian Armed Forces are in the midst of their biggest structural overhaul since independence. Theatre commands are likely to be a key focus to create a more agile, integrated war-fighting force, a concept that came to the fore during late CDS General Bipin Rawat's tenure. We also spoke to defence expert Major General Arvind Bhatia. He has a new POV on why theaterization is important but not needed right now.
We find that firstly, there is not one solution which can fit all. We can't just say that there has to be two theatres for the land-based theatres and maybe the Western Seaboard or the Eastern Seaboard in the maritime domain. And we should also be not creating kind of command and control headquarters just so that there has to be a kind of a allocation to all the three services in the matrix for theaterization. Now, if you have additional command and control structures, then there has to be a kind of I would say, delay in the decision-making process, in the OODA cycle which will happen, and all that also needs to be kept in mind. Also, you see, domain expertise cannot be diluted just to force fit a new kind of a concept. So when we look at all this very holistically, I find that in the backdrop of Sindoor, everything was very nicely controlled by the three chiefs sitting with the CDS, in the operations room in Delhi, with the political and the bureaucratic interface available to them. So that decision making was very prompt and worked very well.
Drawing the Operation Sindoor analogy, Major General Arvind Bhatia said all the three wings of our forces coordinating from one control room with precision, followed by successful execution, is better than theaterization. To brainstorm on such issues, tomorrow leaders will look at what has worked, what needs fine-tuning, and what new steps are needed to stay future-ready and battle-ready. And since the stage is in Calcutta, special focus will be on the Eastern Seaboard. Let's find out from a veteran how this conference could help them bolster the maritime presence in the East, especially in the face of growing China's influence.
We have to be operationally ready for any challenge in the Eastern Seaboard. For example, we have now the problem of China thinking of building up a base in Bangladesh, that is Sonadia Islands. They are intending to develop it as a port, and that will be a deep sea port. So that will be a high voltage headache for us. So we are looking now to transform our Navy and its preparedness for the future, not only for our Eastern Seaboard, but we also have to look at the geopolitical, geostrategic developments that are taking place around the globe, especially in South China Sea. It poses a huge challenge for the Indian Navy. So I think this kind of conference, where all the three defense chiefs, along with the Chief of Defense Staff, with the Defense Secretary, and in the presence of the Prime Minister, the Raksha Mantri, and the National Security Advisor, along with the other Chief Secretaries of various ministries, it is a step in the right direction. A very wise step, because we have to shape our Navy in accordance with the requirements and the demands and the challenges that will arise in the days to come in the future. So I think such a conference is an excellent step for reshaping not only Navy, but also the other wings of the defense services like the Indian Air Force.
Commodore J.G. Singh believes modernization and bolstering the Eastern Seaboard is the need of the hour. But he added that all the three wings of the defense services are equally important and the stage could not have been better than in Calcutta. During the conference, another area to watch out will be the technological transformation. Future wars will not just be fought on land, air or sea, but also in space, cyber and information domains. And this is exactly what the Navy chief claimed India must be prepared for.
Use of non-contact warfare along with space and cyber domains to wage a conflict with no ceasefires is a reality. National security no longer begins only at borders. It also begins in our R&D labs, in our factories, and in our firewalls.
The intentions are clear, and it will be to ensure India stays ahead in the fast-changing global security landscape. The conference will also review operational readiness for the emerging threats. Commanders are likely to assess preparedness for multi-domain, hybrid and simultaneous conflicts. Space security and cyber warfare will also be the key talking points. The message will be clear that India must stay ready for the unexpected across all the theatres. A big talking point will also be India's Atmanirbhar Bharat roadmap in defence. Lessons were learnt and executed during Operation Sindoor earlier this year, and Indian Air Force Chief says that India is getting battle ready for future warfare with projects like AMCA.
Op Sindoor, as it is, like it was told by Chief of Naval Staff, that character of war is changing. Every day we are finding new technologies coming in. Technology is coming in a big way in our warfare now. And Op Sindoor has again given us a clear idea of where we are headed and what we need in future.
While the focus remains on AMCA, Group Captain Anant Mathur speaks about the safeguards or structural models that could boost air power to remain flexible and decisive during the conflicts. In fact, he draws post-World War II parallel when United States roped in German scientists to boost their air power while gaining access to their expertise in rocketry and synthetic fuel.
At the end of Second World War, American forces were all distributed cards with photographs of German scientists who were important for the US government, so that because they were the best in the world. Over the next 2 decades, we are going to see a similar situation in certain parts of the world where national capability, science and technology will be available to us. These people with decades of experience will be available to India to grow our national power. We must develop a plan to make sure that these people, if such an opportunity arises for us, we are able to capture these people quickly. When I say capture, I mean we can get them into India to support our national cause and to leapfrog in the technological ability that we need. Because Air Force, as we all know, has been at the forefront of technology all across the world.
Like Group Captain Anant Mathur mentioned, tech transfer provides the much needed boost to our firepower, and India has defense collaboration across the world with Israel, United States and Russia too. And on the other hand, indigenous kamikaze drones, Sudarshan Chakra and surveillance UAVs used in precision strikes during Operation Sindoor also proved India's defense ecosystem can deliver. The Prime Minister is likely to push for faster adoption of Indian-made system as the first choice for the forces. In keeping with the tradition, the conference will feature interactive session with the troops of all ranks. These conversations are expected to bring field-level realities into top-level planning. Insights from the ground could influence key decisions at the conference. Discussions are likely on securing sea lanes, countering hostile actors, and strengthening partnership with the friendly nations. The conference will set the course for how India deals with the complex challenges of the next decade. As we look forward to the conference beginning in Calcutta, India looks ahead with clarity and confidence. From reforms to readiness, from theatre commands to technology dominance, the blueprint for the future is taking shape. This is all about building a military that is leaner, meaner, and ready for tomorrow's wars. Over the next 3 days, Calcutta will set the tone for a stronger, sharper, and more self-reliant Indian Armed Forces.
That's Prime Minister's mega power push panning out tomorrow to watch. Moving on for now. A storm is brewing over the Election Commission's move to clean up India's electoral rolls. The special intensive revision has already been carried out in Bihar, but now the Commission is preparing for a nationwide rollout by the end of this year. What the poll body says is a routine exercise to remove duplicate entries, update voter lists, and protect the integrity of elections has turned into a massive political flashpoint. The NDA calls it essential for fair polls, while the opposition calls it an attempt to manipulate voter lists ahead of key elections. From the monsoon session washout in Parliament to street protests in states like Bengal and Bihar, the SIR has become a political battleground. Here's what is expected ahead of a fierce election season.
Special Intensive Revision, an exercise that created a major political storm. The process has been completed in Bihar and the plan is a pan-India rollout.
लगभग हर राजनीतिक पार्टी ने मतदाता सूची को अशुद्ध होने का शिकायत भी की और हर बार कहा कि मतदाता सूची को शुद्ध करना चाहिए। इसलिए इस बार बिहार में 2002 की तरह ही 1 महीने के अंदर जुलाई से अगस्त के बीच में मतगणना फॉर्म बांटे जाएंगे और वापस भी लिए जाएंगे।
This as the speculations were of SIR only in the West Bengal.
जहां तक वेस्ट बंगाल के SIR की तारीख की बात है, हम तीनों कमिश्नर्स एक उचित समय देखकर उसका निर्णय लेंगे कि कब वेस्ट बंगाल में होना है या देश के अन्य राज्यों में कब होना है।
हम इलेक्शन कमीशन को चेयर को रेस्पेक्ट करते हैं, लेकिन जैसे बिहार में 40 लाखों का ज्यादा आदमी को नाम निकाल दिया और बंगाल में भी करने वाला है, अगर करेगा तो घेराव कर्मसूची करेंगे, पूरा घेराव होगा, पूरा आंदोलन होगा। हम नाम काटने नहीं देंगे, हम नाम डालने नहीं देंगे डिटेंशन कैंप में।
But the poll body has begun the groundwork for a nationwide rollout. The process can likely begin in September end or early October. A high-level meeting to review the preparations was held recently. The Election Commission has convened the meeting of chief election officers of all the states and union territories and asked them to prepare a presentation. The officers have been asked to compile data on last revision. Once all the details fall into place, the Election Commission will finalize and announce the date for the nationwide rollout. Opposition is questioning the timing of the SIR exercise.
It is a repetition of voters, of one batch of voters getting connected in the various states and they've been voting. This is not only going to bring crumbles of the democracy and the federalism and the secularism of the country, it's unnecessarily going to cause a rift between the states in our wonderful, beautiful subcontinent of India.
It's left people in Bihar very dissatisfied with the conduct of the Election Commission. I think our Election Commission needs to hold true to those ideals. It wasn't without reason that T.N. Seshan was a much admired person across the country because he ensured the independence and the impartiality of the Election Commission.
The process will likely take over a month. following which draft rolls will be published. A month-long window will be given to raise claims and objections, and final rolls will likely be out in early January 2026.
Government of India could not conduct census because it needs a lot of preparation. So imagine when government could not conduct census, so how can SIR be completed in 1 month time? And Modi ji boasts of digital India and upload every data on electrical mode, digital mode. Why it is not happening? And they want to strike down the name and number of supporters of the opposition and want to include forged names, fictitious names, dead names. So if that is the motive, definitely we oppose it. But it should be in digital form. And time should be there. It's not that, of course, in 30 days' time it's possible to complete it.
Despite the relentless attacks, NDA defends SIR as a process must for the democracy.
Congress and other opposition parties has come to such a low stoop that they are bringing the late mother of Honorable Prime Minister, and that too it's all AI generation. Certainly this is not the democracy which was dreamed about our constitution makers. So in totality, the Congress has made the democracy as a mockery, and certainly it is not in good taste, and Congress must apologize to the Prime Minister, to the nation.
वोटर पुनरीक्षण तो पूरे राष्ट्रीय संदर्भ में होना ही चाहिए। भाई एक व्यक्ति 2 ईपिक नंबर रखे या कहाँ से जाएगी? जिस व्यक्ति की मृत्यु हो गई उसका नाम मतदाता सूची में रहे या कहाँ से जायज है? और साथ ही साथ देश के हर राज्य में देश के हर नागरिक को जाने का अधिकार है। तो अगर उन्होंने वहाँ पर अपना वास स्थल आवास स्थल बना लिया या मतदाता सूची में वही नाम दर्ज कराना चाहते हैं, तो वैसे लोगों को SIR के तहत ये सुविधा मिलता ही है। तो जो लोग SIR पर सवाल उठाते हैं वो केवल इसलिए उठाते हैं कि वो वोट की हेराफेरी करे। चुनाव आयोग इसका जल्द से जल्द फैसला ले और वह स्वागत योग्य कदम होगा।
It's always better if there is a correction. And honestly, after a certain amount of time, new voters come in and there are certain deletions to be happening. But there needs to be a more transparent way of doing it, and that's the reason I think the present SIR has come into picture. And in Bihar, what we have seen is, yes, there was a huge amount of transparency. Many new voters have enrolled, and that's how democracy prevails. So I believe, and Telugu Desam Party believes, that it's the mere execution of it.
While there is support and protest against the SIR, questions are also being asked whether it is practical.
Even carrying out of elections in this country is one of the biggest magnitudes in the world again. And it is a process which involves the entire nation to be involved. And the process we conducted across with the kind of people we have and population we have, it is a stupendous process. Right now we are also contemplating one nation, one vote, and that's also something which is a possibility in the near future. But to carry out such an exercise is a marathon task. So the main problems are practical. I don't think there is a problem otherwise. The second problem that you face is when such exercises are being carried out as part of the election process, in that case you have suspension of government policies. No action can be taken by the government, and that brings a stop to governance at times. But since it has been found that a large number of voters have been excluded from currently Bihar state. In that case, to correct the process, it is essential that this process be put into being, whatever it takes. Supreme Court has engaged in this exercise, and it is something which is for the benefit of the voters, who are the paramount consideration in a democracy. I don't see Election Commission of India facing similar challenges very easily. Once accepted, it should be accepted across the country.
Almost an entire session washed out over the issue, and then the vote chori allegations. Ahead of elections in Bihar and in 2026, the nationwide SIR remains the hottest political flashpoint.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is now confirmed that India's chief trade negotiator, Rajesh Agrawal of the Commerce Ministry, and his team would travel to Washington, D.C. this week to take the trade dialogue with the United States forward with his American counterparts. And that a team from the United States Defense Department and possibly Boeing executives are expected to visit India to negotiate the sale of about $4 billion plus of various aircrafts. Things seem like coming back on track after President Trump softened his rhetoric against India this past week and Prime Minister Modi reciprocated with similar warmth. What is to be seen is if this can convert into meeting the November deadline and a possible meetup between the two leaders. Here are the details.
In August earlier this year, the secondary tariffs on India kicked in, taking the total to 50% on Indian goods and services exported to the United States.
And I haven't done phase 2 yet or phase 3. But when you say there's no action, I think you ought to get yourself a new job. Because if you remember, 2 weeks ago I said, if India buys, India's got big problems. And that's what happened. So don't tell me about that. Go ahead.
Exporter groups estimated that the tariffs could affect nearly 55% of India's $87 billion in merchandise exports to the US. Trade talks went into deep freeze. And what followed was the relentless attack from Donald Trump's team, singling out India for its purchase of Russian oil.
It's a refining profiteering scheme. It's a laundromat for the Kremlin. 25% because they cheat us on trade, 25% because of the Russian oil.
Not just the trade deal, the larger India-US relationship came to the brink.
He's undermining 30 years of bipartisan work to strengthen the US-India alliance. He has imposed a 50% tariff on India, higher than any other country other than Brazil. It's a higher tariff than the tariff on China. It is hurting India's exports of leather and textiles into the United States, and it's hurting American manufacturers and our exports into India.
And then came a turnaround typical of Donald Trump.
I always will. I'll always be friends with Modi. He's great. Prime Minister, he's great. I'll always be friends, but I just don't like what he's doing at this particular moment. But India and the United States have a special relationship. There's nothing to worry about.
Prime Minister Modi responded immediately. And now Piyush Goyal, the Union Minister for Commerce and Industry, has also made it clear that the first tranche of India-US trade deal is expected to be finalized by November.
फरवरी 2025 में माननीय प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी और राष्ट्रपति ट्रंप जी ने मिलकर हमें निर्देश दिया था कि दोनों पक्ष के मंत्री फॉल 2025 यानी नवंबर 2025 तक एक अच्छा करार करें। उस करार का पहला अंश फर्स्ट ट्रैंच नवंबर 2025 तक फाइनल करें और लगभग मार्च से इस विषय पर बड़ी गंभीरता से बड़े अच्छे वातावरण में बातचीत चल रही है, प्रगति हो रही है और प्रगति से दोनों देश संतुष्ट।
Both sides moved quickly It is now also confirmed that Rajesh Agarwal, India's chief trade negotiator, will travel to Washington, D.C. for the coming week. And on the other hand, a team from US Defense Department and Boeing executives are expected to visit India this same week to negotiate the sale of about $4 billion of surveillance aircraft. Experts argue that the thaw is rooted in India's firm stance towards the United States, which has made the resumption in negotiation a natural next step.
The President has a deep friendship with Prime Minister Modi, and that is something that is unique. In fact, if you have noticed, when he has gone after other nations, he tends to go after their leaders for putting us in that position and for the United States imposing those tariffs. When the President has been critical of India, he has gone out of his way to compliment Prime Minister Modi. They have an incredible relationship. I've been with them in the same room. We're not that far apart on a deal already on these tariffs. To your point, getting India to stop buying Russian oil is a top priority for this administration. Bringing peace around the world is a top priority to this administration. This president has engaged in trying to resolve wars and conflicts all over the world.
In addition, we have seen the Shanghai Cooperation Organization putting Xi Jinping, Putin, and Prime Minister Modi on the together, chatting in a friendly manner, and then the subsequent BRICS meeting, virtual meeting, organized by Brazil, really, I think, showed the US that further negotiations with India were essential.
The attraction for the Indian market and the geopolitical consideration are also at play.
There is no doubt that for years, America has looked at India as two big assets. One is the market of India, the population size and the market of India. And the second is that the geopolitical heft of India in the Asia-Pacific region, and as a possible strategic counter to the rise of China. That has been the classical American view with respect to India and China.
As the trade negotiations are resuming, India's recent spur of economic reforms, especially now with the GST rationalization.
Economic or diplomatic decisions are for the country to take. Where I purchase anything, oil or anything else, from is my decision. Where I purchase from is my decision. It's our country's decision. It's our leadership's decision. And those decisions are not taken if it's going to hurt our economy. If buying oil from A instead of B is going to be cost ineffective, meaning if I buy from A instead of B and I end up paying more for that, it's not good for my economy.
Speaking to the Director General of Federation of Indian Export Organization, Republic TV asked about the expectations the exporters have from this resumption in negotiations.
We are quite positive towards the trade deal now. Mr. Trump has given a very positive statement, and that was equally reciprocated by the Honorable Prime Minister of India. And that is giving us quite an encouraging sign that we are moving towards the trade deal. And I'm pretty sure that the negotiator will be back in India probably by the last week of September. We still have the time. The deadline decided by the two leadership is by the fall of 2025. And I think most of the issues for the trade deal has been decided. It is likely to be a political call at a slightly higher level where the issues may have to be clinched. And we are moving towards that direction. I'm pretty sure that we will be able to form up the deal, which is likely to be operational by March, April. We are also looking towards a trade deal with the European Union by the end of this year, which will be very encouraging because European Union will provide us a market which is almost equal to the market for our export to the US. We are also looking into the new territory also. The government itself has looked into identifying new market. For example, Ministry of Textile has identified 40 new market for Indian textile exporters, and I think product market matrix will be developed for many more market.
As India and the United States move into a mature phase of the negotiation and the possibility of a deal looks bright ahead, it is to be seen if a comprehensive trade deal is inked with the United States.
Moving on to the fourth one, the state of Kerala is witnessing another major temple controversy. Left government under Vijayan is preparing to hold a global Ayyappa Sangamam, while the BJP is questioning their newly found Sanatan love. Even though the court has given permission for the event, right-wing organizations are against it, calling it a political program in the name of Lord Ayyappa. Shockingly, leaders like Stalin, who have openly backed anti-Sanatan comments, for example, of his son, are among the list of guests at the event. Here's the full story of Ayyappa Sangamam, the event slated in the coming week.
In an election-bound state where religious sensitivities run high, a big religious event, a bigger controversy. Global Ayyappa Sangamam is scheduled on September 20th at Pampa. With High Court stamp, the Sangamam is happening. Day-long event is expected to be attended by over 3,000 devotees and will be held on the banks of Pampa River.
It is intended to develop Sabarimala, one of the largest pilgrim centers in our country. Of course, the first one in Kerala. And devotees from different parts of the world are attending this Sangamam, and preparations are almost over. I am also invited to that event, and more than 3,000 people will take part in it. And this is for the development of Sabarimala and for that only.
But the High Court has put stringent conditions asking the organizers to safeguard the sanctity of Sabarimala. Ensure no harm to Pampa River by any structures and financial transparency. The court has asked the organizers to protect the rights of the Sabarimala devotees and asked to ensure that no common devotee is inconvenienced. In the heart of the controversy is a list of invitees. Among those invited are the chief ministers of Kerala and Tamil Nadu, known for backing anti-Sanatan statements and sentiments. Though the latest report suggests that the Tamil Nadu Chief Minister will not be attending.
During this Ayyappa Summit, which has been organized by the Kerala state government, which has to be welcomed. There is no kind of politicizations of the event should be taken into an account. It is a normal event where it is the general rights of any citizens to be done through their government, right? So I want to make sure that the Kerala government taking up this Ayyappa Summit shouldn't be politicized.
The damage has been done long back thanks to their constant anti-Sanatan stand.
இந்த மாநாட்டுடைய தலைப்பே மிகவும் சிறப்பாக அமைந்திருக்கின்றது. சனாதன எதிர்ப்பு மாநாடு என்று போடாமல் சனாதன ஒழிப்பு மாநாடு என்று நீங்கள் இதை போட்டிருக்கிறீர்கள், இதை அழைத்திருக்கிறீர்கள், இந்த நிகழ்ச்சிக்கு பெயரிட்டீர்கள். அதற்கு என்னுடைய வாழ்த்துக்கள். சிலவற்றை நாம் ஒழிக்கத்தான் வேண்டும், எதிர்க்க முடியாது. கொசு, டெங்கு காய்ச்சல், மலேரியா, கொரோனா இதையெல்லாம் நம்ம எதிர்க்கக்கூடாது, ஒழித்து கட்ட வேண்டும். அப்படிதான் இந்த சனாதனம். சனாதனம் என்பதை எதிர்ப்பதை விட ஒழிப்பதே நாம் செய்ய வேண்டிய முதல் காரியமாகும்.
And hence, the devotees and the religious bodies have filed petitions. Their two major concerns, the involvement of the state and the board, and possibility of the use of the temple funds for the event. Petitioners believe that those opposing Sanatan Dharma have been invited to the event. The Bharatiya Janata Party has claimed politicization of faith by the left government, calling them out for organizing a political program in the name of Lord Ayyappa.
Whole thing smacks of a political agenda. See, none of these people, whether it is the Chief Minister of Kerala, Mr. Pinarayi Vijayan, or the Tamil Nadu Chief Minister, Stalin, they are not devotees of Ayyappa. So now, if he wants to hold a conference of Ayyappa devotees and invite Stalin, whose party has said that Sanatana Dharma is a virus which has to be eradicated from the whole world. So how does such people come and address the devotees?
In protest, the Bharatiya Janata Party is all set to organize their own Vishwasa Sangamam event 2 days after the global Ayyappa Sangamam.
If they have a change of mind, change of heart, they should apologize to the people that whatever we did earlier was due to our ignorance, and we are now become devotees of Lord Ayyappa. And they should withdraw the cases, the earlier cases that were charged against people who wanted to protect the legacy, protect the tradition of Shabarimala. Without doing that, holding such a conference, it is nothing but political propaganda. So that's why we are saying, first apologize, then withdraw the cases, then let the Ayyappa devotees decide whether they will go for such programs if they participate.
Besides the Bharatiya Janata Party, even the Congress Party and many right-wing activists have objected to the event.
We all genuinely believe Lord Ayyappa will not be politicized, should not be politicized. So Ayyappa's model of inclusivism, pluralism is what we need in Kerala and India. And I am proud to belong to the group of devotees of Swami Ayyappa who is showing us the right path.
Beyond faith, the Sabarimala premises and the Bank of Pampa have become a ring for the fight between the left and the right ideology in the state of Kerala, which is slated to go for elections next year.
All right, friends, from Kerala to Nepal, the horrific protests that last week happened there and claimed about 56 lives have culminated into a new interim government led by former Chief Justice of the country, Sushila Karki, taking charge. She has made it clear that her government is committed to having polls next year in March, that is within 6 months. But the question looms if that is enough of a healing touch for a country where its citizens believe their leaders are playing a mere game of musical chairs for power. Take a look.
A 36-hour Gen Z protest with a death toll of 56 caused a regime change in Nepal. Now culminated into a new interim Prime Minister taking oath. Sushila Karki, a jurist who was almost impeached as the Chief Justice, is the interim leader of Nepal. The parliament has been dissolved and institutions like the Nepal Singha Darbar, the Supreme Court building, have turned to ashen ruins. While a tenuous calm returns, the smoke of the fires that were ignited on 8th September remains. Sushila Karki has hit the ground running, visiting some sites and meeting victims.
Nepalese want to see normality returning to this country as soon as possible. They are expecting justice and also elections after 6 months. So these are the priorities, and people are just hoping and praying that everything goes according to plan. And Chief Justice, former Chief Justice, who was the first female Chief Justice in 2016, is now the first female Prime Minister. From interim Prime Minister Sushila Karki can deliver on her promises.
Despite her clear intent, that she would hold elections in just 6 months, there's a pushback from the old guard, questioning the place of the new interim government in the existing constitution.
Opposition parties, the former ruling parties and the former parliamentary parties, all the political parties represented in the past government led by Oli and the dissolved parliament are unhappy that the parliament has been dissolved. There was no constitutional provision whatsoever to dissolve the parliament, so that has been breached. So they are not happy with this new constitutional process. They think this is unconstitutional, and they are demanding that the parliament that has been dissolved be reinstated as soon as possible. So they have 7 political parties, including Nepali Congress, CPN, UML, CPN Maoist, and all these parties issued a statement yesterday, 8 political parties, I think, and they have demanded restoration of the dissolved House of Representatives, dissolved parliament.
In a joint release, the leaders of 8 political parties, Nepali Congress, CPN, UML, CPN Maoists, CPN Unified Nationalist, JSP, Janmat Party, Loktantrik Samajwadi Party and Nagrik Unmukti Party have called the Karki government against the spirit of the existing constitution.
Most of them are in against to Karki government because they said that is not formatted by the constitution, but the youth revolution that is only happened in the once a decade in decades. So some of them are welcoming Karki government and they are saying that is good for press mandate. But most of them, including CPN, UML, Nepali Congress, Maoist and other major political parties, they said that is not made by the constitution.
Nepal Parliament has 275 members, of which 165 are directly elected, while 110 are nominated. President Ramchandra Paudel had dissolved the existing house and has sought cooperation from all political parties with the Karki government.
Yeah, Karki, I think Karki should be exit. The Balen and Ravi has some legal issues because he is in jail now. But after the revolution, if the legal process will release him, he can be a leader. But the most of youth thinking that the Balen should be a leader.
Experts on Nepal constitution believe though it got branded as Gen Z protest, it was in the making for a while. Due to poor governance delivered by an inefficient multi-party democracy.
There was a huge concentration of huge power to the political office, but there was zero accountability. Power with no accountability. That was the situation in Nepal. And the same person, same group of people, bunch of people, they are ruling the nation since last 30 years. So it created a deep sense of frustration. So that's one of the reasons. That's why there was a boiling point in the process.
With Karki in the saddle, it is time now to heal and to make active efforts by the interim government to bridge the trust deficit and curb structural corruption in Nepal.
There has to be a full accountability for perpetrators who engineered, the massacre in 8 September. So their accountability has to be, established because there was a massacre and innocent youth population was ruthlessly, mercilessly killed. It was a kind of massacre, genocide. So their accountability has to be established, and there has to be credible investigation, and there has to be command, responsibility has to be applied.
We have very much options to choose, and the only some leaders are playing the musical chairs from the past 3 decades.
Amid all this, where's India? Geopolitical observers have also cautioned about a spillover effect.
Instability in the neighborhood actually hems India in, because turbulence in your neighborhood has an immediate impact on us. In some cases, like in Bangladesh, it has a huge impact because a friendly regime is transformed into a polity which is relatively hostile. In Sri Lanka, we saw a huge economic downturn to the relationship for some time. And now in Nepal, a country with which we have an open border, you had a state of virtual anarchy. So all these create security implications for India and huge security implications. Now, is there a foreign hand? I have no doubts that there are certain foreign agencies which are helping bring about this sort of turbulence and this sort of regime change.
India looms large, and many times it has resented. The reason why the Modi government watched the developments with concern and quickly supported the new arrangement.
मुझे विश्वास है कि वे नेपाल में शांति, स्थिरता और समृद्धि का मार्ग प्रशस्त करेगी। नेपाल की पहली महिला प्रधानमंत्री के रूप में सुशीला जी का आना महिला सशक्तिकरण का वह बहुत उत्तम उदाहरण है। मैं आज नेपाल में ऐसे हर एक व्यक्ति की सराहना करूंगा जिसने ऐसे अस्थिरता भरे माहौल में भी लोकतांत्रिक मूल्यों को सर्वोपरि रखा।
As Bansal says, we are the stabilizing force in the region.
I think India has to be more proactive. As the legitimate big power in this region, we have to be more proactive. We have to integrate ourselves with our neighbors even more. I think there is some amount of xenophobia which has actually crept in India for some time. But we need to be more proactive. Like in the case of Bangladesh, I have no reasons to believe that we should not have acted. We should have acted because Sheikh Hasina's government was, and to my mind is still, the most legitimate government of Bangladesh. Now, of course, in Nepal's case, again, we should actually ensure that there is stability. We should provide full cooperation. And I think by doing so, we should project to the world how India can be and is a stabilizing force. And consequently, the entire global south should look up to us and seek succor from us whenever there is a crisis like this in their countries.
As Nepal looks ahead with Sushila Karki declaring that she is only here for 6 months and polls are announced for March 5th next year, political reality suggests that much more has to be done for stability to come back in the country known for being a playground for global powers.
Alright friend, all that you watched over the last 50 minutes is a glimpse of what's going to happen the coming week. Look forward to it. Thanks for watching. Short break. News is back on the other side with Akanksha.